Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. I wanted to talk about chronometers today. A lot of people mix them up with chronographs, or one has nothing to do with the other. A chronometer simply is a measurement of quality of the movement. I'm referring to mechanical watches, however, a chronometer quality quartz watches and some other things. They have a totally different kind of set of criteria for their quality. Now, only 6% of all of the Swiss watches coming out in any year are certified as chronometers. Now, chronometers really, they really were the early maritime chronometers that were used on ships so that they wouldn't get lost. I think you can find yourself north and south or east and west, but they needed a chronometer in order to better find their position east and west. North and south, I think they were able to do it with looking at the stars and measuring that. John Harrison is credited as being one of the guy who really put together the chronometer, the maritime chronometer, that people didn't get lost. Now, in order to have the word chronometer on the dial of your watch, you have to pass a certified chronometer test of some sort. Now, all Rolexes go through that test, and then they have two tests. One, they have a test of the movement to see if it's meets chronometers certification standards, and then they have another one of their own, and they put it in the case to do it. Now, there's something that's called ISO 3159. ISO stands for the International Organization for Standardization, and this is what's used as sort of as a base plate. Some testing services will say that they want to have higher standards than that, but in order to call your watch a chronometer, it's got to pass some kind of test. For example, this one talks about the mean daily rate of -4 + 6 seconds, and if your watch is within those parameters, then it passes that one thing, and there are a total of 7 different things they have to pass: the mean daily rate, the mean variation, the greatest variation in rate, the difference between the rates in horizontal and vertical positions of the watch, greatest deviation in rate, variation in the rate as a function of temperature, and resumption of the rate. Some watches do silicone hairsprings are supposed to do very well on meeting these standards because there's not the variation in a silicone hairspring, and so the ones made of metal, transitional metals, have to be done very, very well, and in order to meet these standards. Now, here's the procedure that watches go through to meet this. First of all, it's wound up completely, and then using the TimeGov. Now, the TimeGov time standard is it's an online. You can go there, time.gov, and mine told me how many microseconds my computer was off. You're off 0.00012. Very accurate timing thing. And then the watch is placed in a position inside a laboratory incubator, which is set to the required temperature. The time is noted. The time, I think, is 20 EU centigrade. I believe the one I have, this is my certificate that I got when mine went through certification process, and the temperature is 23 centigrade. And then they have one that brings it down to 8 centigrade and another one that brings it up to a higher centigrade. They have this very little thing, so I use my magnifying glass on that. Um, After 24 hours, the watch is moved from the incubator and compared with the time go. So they start with the time go and they end with it looking at the seconds. I mean, they're really very. They use visual rather than mechanical. And then this procedure is repeated for 15 days that they have to go through this. And the watch is held in different positions during this. Now, in order to pass the test, these are the ones that I referred to before. There's 7 things. It has to be between -4 and 5 seconds per day. The mean variation rates can only be less than 2 seconds per day. So what this says, I mean, they test, I think, 5 ways from Sunday, and if it meets all those standards, then it passes, and you can put chronometer on the dial of your watch. Now, here are some of the testing what we'll say facilities they have. Most of these are in Europe. COSC is the most famous. This one is in Switzerland. Meters is also in Switzerland. In the Fleurier area of Switzerland, I forgot which canton it's in, but they have something called the Fleurier Quality Foundation, and they have a certain testing. The Observatoire de Besançon, this is in France. This is about 90 miles north of Geneva, and they have a Viper stamp with it. That's sort of cool. I always thought it would be neat to have a watch and look at the plates. In Germany, there's the Glashütte Observatory certificate. In the United States, there's one called the Horological Society of New York, and they have a certified testing thing. This is what I had my watch tested for certification. Now it's already made, so I'm not going to put it on there. And this is what they sent me, and it's sort of neat. If you're in the U.S. and you have a watch, you want to say, well, I want to know if mine meets these criteria. Now you can send it in to the HSNY, and they'll test it for you. It's a 15-day test, and it costs $150. So that's the decision. Now, here are a number of watches that are chronometers, or they say chronometer on the dial. Here's a Breitling, a Glashütte Original Senator, Parmigiani Toric Quality Fleurier. Now, remember we mentioned the Quality Fleurier as one of the testing things. They put it right in the name of the watch. Now, one of the more interesting ones I found was the Nomos. They had something, they said it was adjusted to chronometer standards, but they decided not to put it through the testing. I mean, it cost them to put each watch through the testing thing, and they decided not to do it. A lot of watchmakers put them to those criteria, but they don't test them. Omega, and another one is Ulysse Nardin Marine Chronometer Tourpailleur. I probably said that terribly wrong. But anyway, if you don't have a chronometer rated watch in your collection, it might be fun to have one. And this is one of the funny things. This is my Chronometer Certified by F.P. Jorn. And on the back here, he didn't go through the official testing. A lot of these top watchmakers don't. For example, Jaeger-LeCoultre doesn't go through any testing outside of themselves, and they have this 1,000-hour test that's way above the COSC testing, and they figured, what's the point? So anyway, check and see if you got a chronometer in your collection. Let me know. Let me know what you think of the whole process. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection. Always an opportunity to subscribe if you'd like.